Welcome to the Charter Oak Chess Club's YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going over round 2 and game number 2 since I've started this new study plan. I'm playing against Theodore Shin, and I have the black pieces. So pawn to e4, pawn to d5, capture, capture, knight comes out. I play my normal Scandinavian defense with this pawn to c6. And one of the reasons I really like this line is one, it's in my repertoire, and I have to stick to it now. But two, I get very even positions, and I kind of know what I'm going to do even before white plays. Because no matter what white plays, I'm pretty much playing the same thing. Bishop to f5, pawn to e6, bishop to e7, castle kingside. 9 times out of 10, that's what we're going to do. Occasionally, we'll fianchetto this bishop, and they choose the castle queenside. But that's pretty much it. There are other lines, like if knight goes here, then we should bring knight over here. But since I know what to do, and since I lost my round 1 game essentially on time, because I got into time trouble, I decided I'm going to play really fast, and maybe it will help me in the end of the game, which is not always the best way to go about things. And we'll see that I did get into a little bit of trouble here. But here we go. Bishop to e3, bishop to f5, bishop out, and then we have a choice whether to take or just go back. I end up keeping the bishop, but there's nothing wrong with taking. Sometimes it looks a little scary to take and say, well, white has 4 pieces out. But this is totally fine. We're going to play it like a Caro-Kann, pawn to e6, bishop out, castle. White doesn't have any way to really get a giant advantage from this position. So this time I decided to hold it. Castle, pawn to e6, pawn to h3. Always love to see pawn to h3. It's just a little quiet move, nothing to be scared of. Put my knight to d7. And right here is when we take. And I like this move because he's either going to have to waste time and play bishop takes, and then I'll just take with the h-pawn, and that's fine. But when they move the queen, we're going to make them move the queen again, right? This is something that we do maybe in the queen's gambit, right? When they move the bishop, then you take the c-pawn so that the bishop has to take again. So they move the queen. Let's let them move the queen again. And their idea of moving the queen was maybe to play the bishop to attack. Now they've got to get back into that position. So bishop to e7. And now we can see very even game, right? I mean, everyone's developed. We got a strong control over the center. So does my opponent. Very, very even game. The bar is saying it's completely even. Okay, rook to e8. Knight goes back. Knight goes back because I want to play c4. Now I play a very silly move. Something that I really shouldn't have gone for. Probably something like knight to d5 would have been fine. Just attacking the center. Maybe pawn to c5, trying to trade off material. Maybe even just a rook move. I don't know. Maybe knight to b6. A lot of options here, but I go for queen to b5. I don't even know why I played queen to b4. The idea is just to attack the pawn, but they're just going to defend. So they attack the pawn, and they're saying, what are you going to do? Are you going to take here? And then rook comes, and we'll take back. Which might not have been like the worst line, to be fair, because after this, we do get, 2 pawns, but then like it's also a weakness, and it's going to be kind of hard to hold. I didn't realize that I'd get 2 pawns here, so maybe this would have been fine to go for. The computer certainly likes it, but I just ran back, and now white gets a little bit of an advantage here because they get to throw all 4 pawns. And remember, c4 was their original intent, so now it's feeling really locked up. Feels like white has a lot more pressure. They're pushing their pawns up the board. Where's my attack going? Nowhere really. But we're still holding on. So pawn to a6, pawn to c5. And this is exactly why black is fine in this position, even though white's throwing all the pieces. I go, wait a minute. They just gave me a really nice outpost for my knight. Then I can move my other knight here, right? So they're attacking, but there are, there's no reason to wave the white flag as black here. Capture. We're just trying to trade off some pieces, which in retrospect, I'm not sure if that's the best thing. I had a knight on an outpost. I could have just kind of sat with the knight on the outpost. I was a little worried that they had a lot of pieces, and they were kind of going for this kingside attack, and my pieces were kind of just huddled around, the center. So I just wanted to trade off some material, make it a little bit more even. I'm also starting to get a bit of a time advantage at this point. And right about here, so f6 probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, just because moving the f-pawn always creates a weakness. But we're trying to attack somehow. We're trying to get out of this position. And now we have a mistake here. So pawn to d5, pushing up the board. I could take. Let's see what happens if I were to take. Probably just something like rook takes. If I take again, check. Again, like a lot of pressure here. It says right here white is winning. I don't know how exactly, but the knight is definitely looking better than my dark squared bishop. My dark squared bishop on the same squares as all my pawns. This knight has a beautiful outpost, and they can continue to just attack everywhere. This is really scary just in general. So yeah, it was getting a little scary, so I decided to play. Let's go back here. I decided to play. Did I take? I guess I took. Oh, I take first, and then I play pawn to f5. And the computer's like, this is not the way to go. This is not the way to go at all. But I didn't see any other options really to make progress, and I didn't like the idea that they were going to check me. But unfortunately, the two rooks for the queen here is deadly. I mean, look at the pin. Look at the pin. The knight has this outpost now on d6 because we really can't afford to move this bishop. So it's just kind of a crushing attack. And I thought that like my one thing that I would get is that I would get to kick this rook around. But unfortunately for me, I didn't realize that the rook could take on e5. So what happens now, again, game 25, I don't have the endgame, sorry. We were able to save this game just by playing a really good endgame. I was able, unlike the first game where I just, completely squandered it. But pretty much the queen, these pawns move up, the queen gets we get some kind of mating attack going, so they have to sacrifice a rook for the bishop, and then I instantly take it, and I get another fork, and I take both rooks go off the board for the bishop. It's wild, the fact, I was just trying to go for some perpetual check, and they saw that coming, but then it kind of turns into a mating net, and then they have to give it up. So crazy endgame stuff. Obviously, if my opponent had more time, these two rooks versus this really bad bishop. This bishop's having a hard time this game getting out. The knight's got the outpost. White should have won this game in this position. But the one good thing I had was a 10-minute to 2-minute time advantage, something like that. So I was able to play quite well with the idea of I'm just going to play this opening fast. So I think we've had 2 games now where the opening has kind of gone in my favor, luckily. And that was kind of my one saving grace. And it takes until the 3rd game for us to finally get a win that we probably deserved all the way through. It was just a solid game.